I'll never forget the student who changed my views of community music school and the responsibilities that community music schools and teachers carry forever. This was several years ago at another school I worked at, and I only had this student for 1 year. It was her senior year of high school. She'd taken lessons since she was 8, so she was in 10 years of lessons. The previous teacher moved, so I was going to be her last teacher before going off to college. And in the first lesson, her parents said this was the year they wanted her to enjoy music. Because the hope for every parent is to give their kids this gift to enjoy for the rest of their lives. And this family had done everything right. They set her on a solid practice schedule. She was practicing an hour a day. And she was a wonderful kid, aimed to please, would never disobey, went through it all, but it was clear, her parents said, that she wasn't enjoying this, that they were sort of dragging her through it. So in a first lesson, especially with a transfer student, I always like to ask them to play something so I can get a sense of where they are and what they've learned and where we're going to go together. And she took out a Chopin Nocturne, basically a college-level piece. And she couldn't get through the first 4 bars or so. So I stopped her and I asked her several questions, making it clear that the questions were more for me than for her to get a sense of where she is. I asked some very basic questions. What's a time signature? What's this note? How does this rhythm work? And it became clear within the first few minutes that she had no idea how to read music. Once I asked a few more questions, I came to find that her previous teacher had her playing 1 piece per year for the last several years, basically just kind of drilling it into her bit by bit. Now, a student who doesn't know how to read music trying to play a Chopin Nocturne, if you're not a musician or if you're not familiar with music, it's kind of like taking somebody who doesn't really know how to read well and forcing them to read the Scarlet Letter. It's that level. And in the pedagogy field, there's a certain amount of professionalism that we don't criticize other teachers because we don't know where they're coming from, what their approach is. But there comes a point where the teaching is just bad. And this, to have a student who doesn't understand the musical language play a piece like this for a year is what I consider to be malpractice. I went to my bosses at the time, I explained this, and it turned out that they knew about the issue and hadn't really done anything about it, which I was really surprised about. I was asking myself, where is the outrage here about what happened with the previous teacher who had been a teacher here for some years. So my task was, it felt at the time almost impossible. We had to start, after 10 years of lessons, we had to start all the way from the beginning. Not only start from the beginning, but figure out how in a short 9 months I could get the student to a place where she feels good about music and wants to continue playing music after high school. And she did great, given the situation we were in. She learned how to read music really fast. It's not like she was a slow student or incapable. And we did our best, but 9 months is just such a short time. And it was clear as we went on that her parents were starting to realize the issues that had happened before our time together. And I felt that I owed them the truth in their very last lesson, the last time I was going to see her before going off to college, because I truly hoped that she would take this as the beginning of her journey and not the end, not permission to just kind of stop forever. And I said to her mom, I just have to be honest with you, this is not what piano lessons are supposed to be. Your daughter was really shortchanged on this experience. Because to many people, it's just sort of a shrug of your shoulders. Oh, well, that's too bad for that student. But for this student, practicing an hour a day of this inappropriately difficult repertoire, having no idea how to read music, is torture. It's tragic. And this is the part that stuck with me and continues to stick with me. Her mom, with tears in her eyes, said, I know. I understand that now, but how was I supposed to know? We're taking lessons at this institution that's saying they have the best teachers in the area, that this is good teaching. How was I supposed to know that this was not good teaching, that I was forcing my child through this? And what stuck with me from that is really the responsibility that we carry as music teachers, and even more so if we run music schools with lots of teachers, to ensure that when we're saying that a student is going to get this thing, this life-changing experience to learn music, that we really do have effective teaching that's going to give this to them, that we actually follow through on that. I can't state that enough, this responsibility we carry. Because parents, most are not trained musicians. They don't know what good teaching is. So it's our responsibility to show them what good teaching is and actually teach well across the board without exception. Because after the student had left, I went to my bosses at the time. I reflected my outrage at what had been allowed to happen. And once again, it was just sort of a shrug of the shoulders. Oh, that's really unfortunate, but what are we going to do? We have all these students. We can't keep tabs on everything. And I failed to understand that. Because once again, for the adults, it's just sort of a, oh, well, that's too bad. But for this student, 10 years of 1 hour a day with material she didn't understand. And to me, that is tragic and should not be allowed to happen. The positive that I'm hoping will have come from this is how it changed me and my views of the responsibilities we all carry as music teachers. Today, I remind myself again and again and again how important it is to honor that trust, and especially running a music school with 3 of truly the most amazing colleagues ever, honoring that trust using skill-based teaching where we're teaching students how to understand music, how to read, how to hear, across the board with no exceptions. And the hope is that this student's experience that I've been telling you about will have been a catalyst for lots of positive change in the musical community with our students. And if you're watching this video, if you're touched by this experience, perhaps somebody you know as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it and you want to hear more stories like this, do hit the subscribe button. We're publishing videos all the time to help educate and inspire you in the world of bringing music to as many lives as possible. Thanks so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.